Welcome to Pressed. This is a segment of B-Side Banter, and this is our very first episode. On this episode, we're talking about how your vinyl collection is never finished. It grows, shifts, and reshapes with every stage of your life. And today, with Jason from Grooveline Vinyl, we explore how a collection changes as you do. So I'm super glad to have you on, Jason, and let's just jump right in. And I'm going to ask you, how did your vinyl collection start?
So my collection originally started in 2015. If you remember that time, it was kind of kind of in that hipster era. And I had a few
Mm,
friends that were collecting records, and I decided to dive in. At the time, I didn't know a lot
yeah.
about vintage R&B music, but that was kind of my early focus.
After that, because that's kind of like those early days. You kind of jumped in a little bit when the explosion is happening. I feel like a lot of people got in around COVID time, because people are at home. They wanted something fun to do, something fun to collect. And I know that you mentioned to me that around that time, it stuff shifted for you as well.
Yeah, so I had the early collecting of the first, like I say, 2015 to 2018. I had 100, 150 records, James Brown,
Mm,
Sly and the Family Stone, Stevie Wonder, classics and great, but it
yeah.
was just very much a partial hobby. When the pandemic
Mm,
hit, I was at home more. I wasn't going out. And I dusted off those records and started to get back into it. And that's when I really dove in part, as a way to kind of, calm the anxieties that I was feeling about the state of the world at the time.
how much, like, so you said you had like 150-ish records in this like pandemic season. Like, was this like an explosion for you, or was it just like accumulating more?
Yeah, so it started, like I said, it went from 100, 150 to about 1,000 within about a year.
Nice. Whoa.
Um, and so during that time, this is one of the shifts that happened was I used to be, and I still am, a record store guy, right? But during the
Mm,
pandemic, I
hmm.
started to look on Facebook Marketplace, because, like I said, I
Yeah.
went to the record store, and it was like six records for like $100. Which, I
Mm,
know record stores
hmm.
gotta do what they gotta do, but I was like, man, I remember when six records was $30, just a few years before
Yeah,
that.
totally.
And I was looking on
Hmm.
Facebook Marketplace, and I found someone selling 50 records for $100. And it had all the
Mm,
records, Isley Brothers, Earth, Wind and Fire, Gap Band, all the stuff that I was looking for. And messaged a guy, met up with him, and it was like that was, a jackpot. And that one was the one that hooked me going for the next, until now, but certainly the next year or two, buying collections of 50 records, 100 records, 200 records,
hmm.
just pretty much every week, every month, anytime I could get my hands on it.
Yeah. And that's a pretty big step to do that, because you're, one, putting out more money, two, like needing way more space when you're getting that many records, three, you're having to kind of go through all of that stuff, seeing like what's good, what's in good condition, et cetera, et cetera. Do you find that that's something that like was a little cumbersome for you?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was cumbersome, but it was also really fun. One of the things I say about
Yeah.
also is like, I talk to a lot of people who collect records, and they're like, I have a list that I'm buying these records and these records. Buying collections the way I did early on, it threw that all out the window. Now all of a sudden it was like, well, let
Mm,
me see what this person had in their collection. It helped me to understand that people could have, if you know this, like a Johnny Taylor, soul and R&B singer right next to Aretha Franklin gospel Amazing Grace,
mm,
and it helped me
mm-hmm.
see that people's
Yeah. Yeah.
collections, exhibited their own character, their own interests. I'll never forget one I bought. There was a guy, he loved guitar work. And so he had like hard rock, but he had funk and he had blues. But the through
Mm,
line through it all was he loved like great guitar playing. And so that was a
yeah.
really cool, it certainly jumped really fast and high. But it helped me understand that I could build a collection, that may not necessarily make sense to kind of the world and the trends of the day. And certainly from 2020 to 25 now, we've seen the trends of color vinyl and variant collecting, all
Mm,
these things. No shade to anybody who does that, but this was my kind of way to kind of do something different that I really enjoyed too.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and it seems like you're kind of like spending a similar amount of money that somebody that is into the variant collecting and getting like newer records, like yeah, they would kind of like what you were saying, they would buy like 3 or 4 and it would be potentially a couple $100. Whereas for you to spend a couple $100, you're probably getting, hundreds of records potentially.
Yeah, and to me, what I love that's what helped me understand too is even in the vintage kind of R&B world, there's people, and I've done it, spend $50, $100, $200 on a record. But more times than not, I'm going to want
Mm,
to invest in a collection. And the reality is, there's probably, let's say, 50% of that, which is the stuff that sometimes I will like resell. There's like 20 to 25% that I have no clue what it is. And I'm curious to
mm.
listen, figure out, do I like it? Do I want to keep it? And then there's the other 20 to 25% that, I really am interested in keeping. So those numbers can kind of fluctuate, collection to collection.
Yeah, totally. And I'm sure as you keep going, the number of records that you wanna keep yourself probably that percentage probably gets smaller and smaller as you're like, "I've got this, I've got this, I've got this."
Yeah, that was really was the impetus to the reselling as I do it, was that I would buy these
Mm.
collections and I'd be like, okay, do I need 4 copies of Stevie Wonder's Intervisions? Do I need
Yeah.
3 copies of, great records, and even for people who keep multiple copies, that's cool. But for my space and for my interests, it was more
Yeah. Mm.
interesting to me to kind of turn those records over. At the same time, my page was doing really well on Instagram, and so it was like, people were
Mm.
excited to see like, hey, this is someone who has great taste, knows records, and can get these records to my doorstep, pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. For somebody that's, like, kind of looking maybe a little interested in the reselling side of things, where do you primarily do that?
So I primarily do it through my Instagram. I think
Mm.
uh, my journey is maybe a little bit unique because a lot of folks have the interest in reselling and then figure out the audience. I was kind of
Mm.
lucky to land the audience and then figure out the reselling. But there's I
Yeah.
always say like
Yeah.
make friends with people, connect with people on social media, obviously places like Discogs and eBay. But I think the kind of social,
Mm.
and there's a growing number of folks who sell either predominantly or exclusively through places like Instagram because it gives people direct access. Asking for photos, asking for sounds is a very easy process versus if you're on Discogs asking someone for a photo, is like,
Mm.
not as well received.
One thing that you are kind of branching into that a lot of people aren't necessarily in the vinyl collecting world is DJing. You're kind of getting into that. Maybe talk a little bit about how that changed. You went from reselling to deciding you want to do some DJ stuff.
Yeah, so what I realized was on my page, I was in some ways they would call a selector, right? The songs that I would choose to post on my
Mm.
page was this kind of intentional idea, and people enjoyed it. There was an energy around it, and I thought, I could do this real life and in person. I want to respect the art of DJing. So even though I've played a few gigs, I still very much say like I'm very much a new person to it. But what that has
Mm.
changed is right. Certainly the quality of records. Because I bought these collections, I might run across we'll call a VG copy of Marvin Gaye. What's going on? Certainly a great record at
Mm.
VG, but if I want to play it out it probably needs to be VG plus or better. So the quality of records had to change, but then even the style of records had to change a little bit. I still have stuff that I
Mm.
listen to personally, but there are records that I want to play out that I'm more drawn to, particularly 12-inch singles, 45s um, that have great sound, and maybe some songs are only found in those formats. That if I just had a
Mm. Yeah.
personal collection, was never playing out, I might not go after those records, but now I find myself kind of shifting the collection.
Is there anything else you want to kind of mention about your collection, your journey collecting?
Yeah, one of the things I say is what I've learned and what I try to share with folks is, build the collection that you want. A lot of times
Mm.
we see folks, following trends. We see folks feeling FOMO. And I've experienced this stuff, FOMO. In COVID days,
Mm.
we would pre-order every single record before we ever heard a note of the record. And while with my
Yeah.
favorite artists, I may still do that, that class has gotten much smaller through the years of people who I'm willing to just
Mm,
pre-order with no sound. The reality is, most of the time, we still have options to buy that record after it drops, which has changed since the
yeah.
pandemic. And so I just say, but build the collection you want. And even if you have stuff that you don't like, trade it with a friend, take it to your record shop,
Mm.
find a way to, change your records around to what you really want.
Quickfire Vinyl Q&A, and I'm going to try to do this with every guest. So, as best you remember, what's the first vinyl you bought?
I've got it right here.
Nice.
Marvin Gaye, Tammy Terrell, United, classic record.
What brought you to buy that?
The songs Ain't No Mountain High Enough, If I Could Build My Whole World Around
Hmm.
You, Your Precious Love. It just is, If This World Were Mine, just some of my favorites by Marvin and Tammy together.
Yeah, so great, so classic. And then maybe going after that, what's the most played record that you have in your collection?
So this one, I pulled this one too. DJ Rogers, I always forget, It's Good to Be Alive. DJ Rogers, I love
Mm,
this record. I love the back of the record. Sampled by Common and a number of different artists. It's
yep,
just such a great 70s R&B and soul record from front to back. To me, as folks say, no skips. Although I say most of my records are no skips, but
yeah,
uh, yeah, I just
yeah.
love this record.
Maybe this will be the same. I don't know, but Desert Island record, is that going to be the same for you, or do you have a different one?
So these could interchange, I could say. I picked another record for this, Minnie
Sure.
Riperton, Adventures in Paradise. There's her with the lion.
Mhm.
Same thing. I listened to this one a
Yeah.
lot. I love this one. If you told me I was stuck with either one of these, I'd be happy. And if you ran stats on
Mhm.
my turntable, both of these would pop up.
Yeah. Where along in your record collecting stage did you get kind of both of those for the first time?
This would have been in the 2020 to 22 era. I actually had a friend who asked me to find this record for him. This is when I was reselling to like friends and family. And I had a friend say, if you ever
Mm,
run across DJ Rogers, pick it up for me. And I found it that day. And I did get
mm,
it to him because he had asked for it. But I was like, man, I got to get a copy. So I ran across a copy. And then the Minnie
yeah.
Riperton, I think I had her, what is it, Perfect Angel record first. This one's a little tricky to find. So it took a while
Mm,
to find a copy, but certainly one of my favorites.
yeah. That's amazing. And last question, what is your dream pressing, or as a lot of people like to say, your grail?
Yeah, so I thought about this. I collect mostly 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s R&B, funk, and soul. But I was born in
Mhm.
1982. I grew up on 90s hip hop and R&B. And there's one I actually
Yeah.
was listening to the CD the other day. John B. Cool Relax. We need a repress of that.
Yes. Yes. Okay. How rare is it to find an original of that?
I've never seen one in person. I know they're online. I think they go for 100 up to 200 bucks. And I think if I'm
Yeah,
mistaken, a
it's
lot of
crazy.
those 90s records, they were released as promo the vinyl was released as promo only. So
Mm.
I don't even know that you get the full cover with the booklet on a lot of those 90s releases.
Yeah, yeah, because they were kind of like trying to be done with vinyl in the 90s.
Yeah, and the most people who used the vinyl were the DJs. So the promo
Yeah.
was really just for the DJs to still be able to play, whether it's at the
Mhm.
radio station or at the club. They didn't need the cover and the booklet and all
Yeah.
that. They just needed the music.
Mhm. Nice. Awesome. Well, Jason, this was such a pleasure to have you on. I'm glad that we were able to dive into a little bit of your collection, a little bit of how it went from, casual to serious to extra serious with reselling and DJing. It's been a lot of fun. For any listeners that are out there that don't follow Jason, it's Grooveline Vinyl, and you are on Instagram and TikTok, I believe. Yeah, awesome. So go out and follow him. And a question for you, the listener: how has your collection changed over time? Let us know. We'd love to hear your story. Put it in the comments. Put it wherever you can. And come tune in next time, next episode of Pressed. This is our first episode, but tune in for our next episode where you'll see another guest talk about their collection or talk about vinyl.